They were there for that season, but they are being removed for a reason. And maybe this is the light bulb being shined on it. I tell my clients all the time, I say, you tell me a lot of things, but I also see and hear what you don't say. And this is where a lot of my questions are derived from hearing what you don't say. Because it is challenging. I mean, when you're sitting in a space of dis-ease and trying to understand or make rhyme or reason out of things out of situations that are happening in your life, you're apprehensive about sharing everything because you have the fear of judgment. And the last thing you want someone to do is judge you when you've already been judging yourself.
Today's guest is Tina C. Hines, a fifth-generation healer, intuitive clairvoyant, and medium. She holds certificates as an international transformational specialist. Tina's distinctive approach has established her as an authority in transformational coaching. Her influence extends across continents as she hosts international healing retreats that empower women to rediscover their own happiness and live unapologetically abundant. Welcome, Tina.
Thank you so much, Anita, for having me. I'm glad to be here today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm so excited for this conversation. So, what is one of the most courageous things that you have done?
Oh, let's see. I probably have two. One of them is taking a leap without a safety net when I decided to leave my corporate career of 30 years to lean more into my metaphysical healing work as well as my coaching practice. And the second one would be really taking a leap of faith and leaving the United States to live in Morocco.
Wow, they are big steps, aren't they?
Yes.
Oh, that's brilliant. And do you like living in Morocco?
Yes, I actually do. The people are absolutely amazing. I feel safe. I feel like I am always amongst family who is not my family biologically. And I'm still here. I'm still here after a year. So I guess I like it. I guess I like it.
Yeah, that's one place I'd like to go. I'd like to go to Marrakesh.
Yes, come on over. Come on over.
So, what took you on your journey of becoming a healer, intuitive, clairvoyant, and medium? And so, let's just unpack that a little bit. So, when did you know first?
So it's probably been about 16 years. I had gone through an awakening, a spiritual awakening. At the same time, I was dealing with clinical depression. And, many times there are things going on in life. Life is happening, or as I like to say, life is lifing. And I was taking care of my mom who had suffered a ruptured cerebral aneurysm. And it was in that time where it was my focus was 100% on her. Meanwhile, I had my son at home that I had to take care of because we were in two different states at the time. And I had a job that I needed in order to sustain our livelihood. And at the end of the day, I realized that I was so busy taking care of everybody else that in the midst of it, I forgot to take care of me. And that's when the quietness came into play for me to start hearing and feeling and experiencing some of my amazing gifts. And in the beginning, I didn't understand what was happening. It all started out with me just seeing the spirits of my grandmothers around me and not understanding why I kept feeling their presence and what it actually meant. So, unlike a lot of people who knew when they were children that they had some type of gift, I didn't find out till I was an adult. And it was a lot to unpack as I'm working through depression and I'm working through seeing spirits and trying to get the gist of it. What's so interesting about it is, which is, I'd like to say it definitely was a blessing, is that I did have a family member who could help me understand a little bit about the gift of knowing. And she is our elder in our family. And when I went to her, because one of my aunts sent me to her, they were like, go talk to cousin and she'll tell you. And so I went to her and I says, I think I'm going crazy. And she says, well, why do you think that? And I says, well, her mother and my grandmother were sisters. And I says, well, I'm seeing
Okay.
Nana, I'm seeing your mother, I'm seeing grandmommy, and I'm seeing some woman. I don't know who she is. And she says, well, describe her to me. And so I started describing her, and she looks at me and she goes, oh, that's your great great grandma Jenny. You're just like her, and I've been waiting for you. And that's how I found out. And then she proceeded to share some information with me, and she showed me a picture of my great great grandmother. And when I saw the picture, I was like, yeah, that's the woman I'm seeing in the visions.
Wow. So tell me, what does your work involve? Because there's a lot of elements there.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
like to compartmentalize it. Number one, you can't take away my gift. It is a
Mhm.
part of me in everything that I do. As it pertains to being a healer, because some people will ask, well, what does it mean to be a healer? What does that look like? I'm like, no, I can't cure
Mhm.
cancer. I
Mhm.
must be perfectly clear. But I can assist in shifting the energy to create a little bit of ease in the midst of your discomfort. So if there is pain in certain areas of your vessel, your body,
Mhm.
I shift the energy. These hands are powerful. I shift the energy where it may be lying. I also have the ability to see where there may be restrictions in your body. We have our chakras that are aligned in certain spaces, and there could be blockages in those specific areas. For me, as a clairvoyant, I do, each of us are different. And I always encourage people to
Mhm.
try not to group us all together because our gifts are activated differently. I do see the past. A lot of times it's past trauma that people have experienced, whether it's a big T or a little t, and tapping into how to best support that individual to navigate their life and live in a way that they have power over their trauma versus their trauma having power over them. So that is the that is the clairvoyancy space. For the mediumship,
Mhm.
typically there are loved ones who come through. Sometimes it's the person you want, sometimes it's the person who's delegated to speak in that moment. Just feeling the energy, and I can feel the presence of that loved one. And typically, I'll start describing them, or as a channeler, I'll take on the mannerisms of that individual family member. All of my senses are heightened. I remember having a
Mm.
client where I kept telling her, I keep smelling cigarettes. I keep smelling cigarettes. And she's like, well, I don't smoke. Nobody in my family smoking. And later on, she came back and she goes, my great grandmother used to grow tobacco. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because a lot of times we think about it as the immediate family member versus someone who could be distant, or it could be the
Yes.
family member of somebody else who you had an interaction with, and they just are coming to you because they have a message. I could say about 95% of the time, my messages are not messages of pain, which people tend to come to me like, are they
Mhm.
angry with me? Are they doing these things? And I'm like, no, 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 sweetie. They want you to be okay. They want you to move forward. So that's where the mediumship comes into play. And I do the retreats to unpack that one as part of my coaching. Women come to me for whether they're feeling stuck or whether they need clarity in certain areas or they're doing shadow work and just trying to understand why these shifts are happening in their lives and working through some of the challenges that they may not have worked through in the past. Now, the one thing I'm always very clear is I'm not a therapist. There's a fine line between therapy and coaching. And if there is a
Yes.
need for therapy, I will gently make that suggestion to them because I have worked with clients after they've had therapy
Uh-huh.
and in addition to in tandem with the therapy. But I make it perfectly clear I am not a therapist. I am not a licensed therapist. So the healing retreats, typically I take them to Anguilla or Bali, and we've had one retreat here in Morocco. And it's just a moment for them to
Uh-huh.
focus on self, focus on the woman within without all the distractions of all of their responsibilities. And each day there is a different theme that we focus on, whether it's peace, healing, transformation, self care, and then our activities surround those particular themes. And so all of it just definitely flows together. All of it definitely flows together.
Excellent. That sounds brilliant. So it is so important to heal and reconnect with our authentic self. Tell me more about that, Tina, especially when it comes to old wounds that we're holding on to.
So a lot of times when I'm working with clients, they are operating from past experiences. And the one thing that
Mm.
we all know is there's nothing we can do to change the past. All we can do is get the message that we were supposed to get from the past in order to move forward. I encourage women as we're doing this work together is let's tap into that pain, not stay in the pain, but let's tap into it to have a better understanding of can you see something positive out of that situation? Is there any little pieces that you can see, or are you so focused on the pain that it's causing you to feel somewhat, I'd like to say, paralyzed in your current state of, like, say, you have abandonment issues. So now in this at this age, every time someone leaves you, even if you're removed from a job, there's a feeling of abandonment. So you have to understand what it is in that cycle that led you to feeling abandoned. And now in this day, in today's moment, in your current life, did this person actually abandon you
Mm.
or did you abandon them? And what 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 else can how else can you view it? Do you always have to view it from a negative perspective versus one that could be positive? Because sometimes people are being removed from your life for a reason. They were there for that season, but they are being removed for a reason. And maybe this is the light bulb
Mm.
being shined on it. So I tell my clients all the time, I say, you tell me a lot of things, but I also see and hear what you don't say. And this is where a lot of my questions are derived from hearing what you don't say.
Yeah, I love that. And it's all about what you don't say.
Yes. Because it is challenging. I mean, when you're sitting in a space of dis-ease and trying to understand or make rhyme or reason out of things out of situations that have happened in your life, you're apprehensive about sharing
Yes.
everything because you have the fear of judgment. And the last thing you want someone to do is judge you when you've already been judging yourself. And when I'm working with the women, I'm really telling them, I'm like, listen, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here for you to feel seen and heard. And I want you to feel comfortable enough speaking freely because someone did that for me when I was on my own personal healing journey. Yes, we have
Mm.
friends. Yes, we have families, but there are certain things that we may not feel comfortable sharing with them. And it's interesting because when I say that, it's very true. And for my healing retreats, I discourage people from bringing their friends or family members. And they can't understand because, we have that sense of comfort. I don't want to go on a retreat with someone I don't know. So let me bring a friend or a
Yeah.
family member. And my question always is, does your friend and family member know all of your business? And they're like, oh, yeah, they know everything. I'm like, they don't know everything. And I says, and you're going to start unpacking some of the challenges that you face. And when you start unpacking it, they're going to look at you. And then when you go back to your rooms, they're going to come and have a conversation and ask, well, I didn't know about that. And so and so. And I said, then now you're going to feel pressured and you're going to go inward and you're not going to get what you came here for because you've shut down because this person who knows you is processing what you're saying and possibly judging. When you choose to come to the retreat on your own, you're amongst other women who also made the conscious decision that they were on their healing journey. And as you start hearing one another's stories, you realize the similarities in how, oh my God, I was not the only person going through this. And then there becomes a sisterhood there. But when you
Yes.
bring a family member with you, the dynamics are truly different.
Yeah, absolutely. And you specialize in energy healing and help clients balance their energies from negative influences. So that's kind of really what you're saying. Yes.
Yes, definitely. It's funny because the clients always say, I feel like I'm floating. I feel like so much weight has been lifted off of me after my session. And I need to go to sleep because I felt like I got the best sleep in the world. And I'm like, we were only relaxed for about 20, 25 minutes. They were like, but I feel so like I can go back to sleep. And typically that's what happens. People go back to sleep because it's you feel so much lighter after it. And when I'm doing the energy work, I don't ask them questions. I don't say, why did you come here? What are you dealing with? Blah, 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 blah.
Mm.
I tell them, I was like, I only want to know, why did you decide to have an energy plan? And then allow me to do the work that I do. And afterwards, I share with them what I felt because as I'm going around the body, as I circle the body, energy encourages me to stop at one space in the body, whether it's your crown chakra, whether it is your root chakra, or whether I'm stopping at the sacral or even at your feet. Like sometimes I stop at the feet a lot. It's either the feet or the crown because either you're sitting still and you won't move, or your legs are crossed, or I can see like there could be a bind around your feet. And a bind around the feet means not moving. Sometimes people are so still, like they're barely breathing, and I don't want to be seen. Because if I'm seen, somebody's going to need me. I always like to say to Charlie Brown, the kid who used to walk around with the smoke around his head. Sometime up here in our heads, there's so much going on, and it's just movement, movement. And I can feel when women are just overwhelmed, like the energy just exudes that. And so it brings them the sense of peace that they have not felt in an extended period of time.
Wow, that's beautiful. Tina, you support people on a metaphysical journey. Can you explain what metaphysical is for the listeners, please?
So when I think of metaphysical, because I'm going to say think of it, because as I shared earlier, many of us who do this work, our energies and our gifts are unique to us. A lot of people there I don't want to say a lot, but there are people who have been trained to do this. They've gone to training classes, they've gotten certifications, and then there's me. I'm spiritually guided in the work that I do. My ancestors whom I work with and your loved ones who
Mm.
sometimes come in, they've trained me to do this work, and I'm trained by doing. I am not book taught because early on in this journey, as I did receive downloads from my grandmothers, the one thing that they said to me is, when we were doing this work, there was no book for us to read because we could not read the book. And that is the exact same way that we want you to do it. Because trust me, I have gone to mediumship classes, I've tried to stay in them, and for whatever reason, the energy would push me outside of that class. So I am not book taught, I am not class
Wow.
led, I am sort of 100% ancestral led in the work that I do. And the impact that I have had over the individuals that I have worked with, they were like, oh, I feel it. I understand it. We can feel your energy. We can feel your presence when you enter into spaces. And I'm not saying there is a right or wrong way to do it. Like I said, I wanted to go to the classes, but that's not the way I'm guided to do this work. There are people who look
Mm.
at the science behind this metaphysical work. No, you don't need to know the science because if you start pulling in the science, you're going to leave behind some people who don't understand it. So the work that you're doing is for those everyday people
Mm.
who just really want the core of what's going on with me? Why am I feeling this discomfort? How can you assist me in understanding it? Can you connect me with my loved ones? All those scientific words that people do use, that's not the space that I have been
Yeah,
guided to work in.
that's brilliant. And thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So, what is one of the most important lessons you've learned so far in your life?
I think one of many is to as we as women, I'm not sure of your age, but I realize that we give so much of ourselves and we give so much until we're depleted. And we give because it was a learned behavior through conversation and observation. We observed our mothers and grandmothers helping and giving to one another. Rarely did we see or hear them say, make sure you take care of yourself. They always place themselves secondary. And so now people think like self care,
Mm.
self care, self care. I'm like, it's deeper than just self care, it's soul care. You have to go within you and start caring for you,
Wow.
mind, body, and spirit. So the biggest lesson in in the midst of all of this is to take care of yourself and let people have the overflow if you choose to. Because if you're not here, then they would have to do it anyway. So make yourself a priority. That's the biggest lesson, especially, I had to I had to receive a reminder the early last year because 2 days after arriving here in Morocco, I suffered a mild heart attack. And in the midst of that, I'm in a new country. My friends are traveling, so they hadn't made it back here yet. And I had to lean on people who I didn't know. And it was just truly a reminder of you have to take care of yourself, but also allow others to take care of you and support you. You don't have to be the super person that we make it out that we need to be.
Absolutely brilliant. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And it's true, we do. We always actually go ahead and see what behaviors other people around us are doing, and then we take them on, don't we? So I like
Yes.
the fact that you said that. Yeah. What resources do you recommend, tools, daily steps to anyone that wants to start restoring their energy? How can somebody start looking after themselves and their energy?
So there are a number of tools and resources that I give my clients. One, if you don't
Hmm.
have a meditation practice, find one that works for you. There is guided meditation, there's music meditation, there's walking meditation. As you explore meditation, find what works for you. Because some people say, well, I can't sit still for 5 minutes. And I'm like, so can you give yourself 1 minute? Because you think that I'm going to start meditating today and you're going to go right into 30 minutes of meditation. No, you built that up over time. Meditation allows you to sit in stillness and go within as you start blocking out the things around you and the sounds around you. So that would be one. The second one is one of my favorites. I always encourage people to read The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. The reason why I suggest that book is we spend a lot of time loving other people, but we don't focus on the self love, the love within ourselves. And the mastery of love guides you
Mm.
on this journey of self love. And in the process of it, you begin healing with truth, forgiveness, and love. Truth is opening the wound, forgiveness is cleaning out the wound, and love is the strong medicine we need to heal the wound. Because many times we're putting band aids over our wounds that don't truly heal. So that's another resource.
Yeah.
And then releasing. I like to say releasing the pain through your pen, journaling, whether you're journaling a word, whether you're journaling paragraphs. Start releasing what's going on within you as because you want to create space for new information to come in. It's like trying to sort out a math problem, a complicated math problem in your head, but it's also up there with the grocery list. So it's hard to check to really get the answer until you start writing it down. Once you write it down and you look at it, space is being created for you to identify how to create the answer. The same thing what's going on within our vessel. We're carrying everything in there with the grocery list. So allow yourself to start releasing it, and then you can make rhyme or reason out of what that experience is. And sometimes you'll come back to the journal and you'll be like, wow, I was going through something at that time. Or this was a good period in my life. What was I doing?
Yeah.
Because people mostly think it's always negative that goes into a journal, and it's not. Sometimes there's positive because it's important to look at those positive experiences so they can overshadow the negative, or I like to say not so positive situations, so you can move forward. So those are three: meditation, reading the mastery of love, and definitely journaling.
That's brilliant. Absolutely love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, where can the listeners find you online? What's your website, Tina?
My website is my name. It's tinachines.com, TINACHINES. So all of my information is on my website. And I spend a lot of time on TikTok. So you can also find me on TikTok under the same name, Tina C. Hines. No numbers, no spaces, just Tina C. Hines.
And I shall be putting all your links in the show notes. So please do, anybody that wants to connect with you, go ahead and do so. Thank you for sharing your courageous journey and deep, insightful wisdom and knowledge with us today. And by doing so, you have helped so many others. I'd like to acknowledge you for that. Thank you, Tina C. Hines.
Very welcome. Thank you for having me again.
It's been a pleasure. So we are all about Create the Courage to be Fearless podcast here. So what is your definition of courage?
My definition of courage is having faith in yourself and reclaiming your power in order to do the things that bring you joy. Taking a leap even when you don't know what's going to happen. Leaning into your strengths, definitely.